Scorn is the new horror survival game that released on PC and Xbox Series X and S consoles as a time exclusive. Developed by EBB Software, or EB Software, the game has been in development for 6 to 8 years, and a lot of people were very excited for this game. It just looked very promising from all the footage they kept showing throughout the years. And it took so long to the point where people were even wondering if it was ever going to come out. Well, it's 2022 now, and it's finally released. And the game is heavily divided by people. Gamers and reviewers have all been very mixed on it. Some people are praising it, saying it's like a 9 out of 10. And some people are giving it 4 out of 10, saying it's not good. I'll just be upfront and honest with you all. I didn't care for this game personally. I like what they were going for here, but overall, the game feels very unfinished. Despite being in development for this long, it does feel very unfinished. Getting the good out of the way, the visuals are breathtaking at times. This is a damn good looking game. Like, not just visuals, but also the art style itself. The art direction in this game, top notch. You can tell the game was made by people who admire and love H.R. Geiger's work. Maybe a little too much, but still, you can tell that they admire his work, and you can see it on every single, like, texture and every single wall and pillar you see in this game. It is not a scary game necessarily, but it definitely does go for the body horror aspect when it comes to just how everything is just so screwed up looking and how everything is just so... I really don't want to get any more details about that, but let's just say there is definitely some phallic imagery in this game. And there's also puzzles in this game, which some people may not know that going into it, but yeah, there is a few puzzles in this game, and they work. They're basic puzzles. It's more just trying to actually accomplish and know how to do the puzzles properly is where you gotta be all over the place when it comes to like people being able to actually solve them or not. For me, I got most of them, but there was one puzzle that I struggled to accomplish. And it's not because I didn't know what to do, it was more just I sucked at accomplishing the puzzle. But the puzzles were welcoming, but that's also because it's coming from a guy who likes doing puzzles, despite being terrible at them. But I enjoyed them for what they were. And also, I did like the fact this game doesn't really hold your hand when it comes to explaining what this world is. You basically wake up as just some random person just out of nowhere that was just kind of like attached to the walls or something. And he just kind of decides to go from one point to another, and that's basically your goal in the game. And I did appreciate the game not holding your hand when it comes to explaining what this world is. There's no terminals, there's no like little data pads you can read that explains lore or anything like that. This is just kind of like an unknown apocalypse that you just kind of just find yourself in, and you just gotta try and just get out of it, basically. How did the world come to this? Hell if I know, but it is an interesting world to look at, and I didn't mind the fact that there was no answers given to me when it comes to that. Because there isn't really much of a story here, that you're just simply trying to get from one point to the other, and that's it. Sure, it would be nice to know a bit more about this universe, but for a game, I was fine with it. If this was a movie, that'd be a whole other story. It would be It Comes the Night over again, and I don't need to be reminded of that movie. But, alas, that leads us to the negatives. And as much as I appreciate the work they put into the art direction in this game, the actual level layouts themselves, I was not a fan of. This game feels the need to have so many big areas that go nowhere. Like, there's like these long corridors I swear I'll go through, and they feel pretty damn long at times, just to end up nowhere. Like, there'll be nothing on the other end. It'll be a dead end. There's so many sections in this game where there's like no point to certain sections. They're just there, and that's it. It makes you wonder what was the point of like having spending all that time making a whole little section just for nothing to be there. And on top of that, everything looks the same for the most part. Outside the last section of the game, where it's a whole different location, outside of that, almost the entire game looks identical to each other when it comes to like how like the walls are structured, how the layouts just kind of seem duplicate from like one room to another. Everything just kind of matches up together. It looks the same, to the point where you find yourself getting lost half the time. There are times I felt like I was going in circles trying to figure out where to progress and not knowing where to go because everything just looked the same. And there is quite a bit of backtracking in this game, so good luck figuring out where you were, because sometimes it gets very frustrating trying to figure out where the hell you just were. But the biggest problem gameplay-wise with this game is the combat. The combat feels like it was an afterthought. Like if this was always part of the plan to have combat in there, they did not know how to utilize it very effectively because the combat in this game is not that good. Most of the time it feels very stiff. Like you barely have any like free range to do what you want. And I know people are going to say, well, it's a survival horror game. That's part of the challenge is handicapping yourself in games like, say, Resident Evil. But the problem is the enemies here are not handicapped like you. It's not like Resident Evil 4 where you have to stand still and aim your gun slowly as the enemies are walking towards you slowly. In this, the enemies are faster than you. Like they have like almost like lock-on targeting systems like whenever they throw projectiles at you. They never seem to miss. And then there's like this giant ram thing that will knock you down on your ass so many freaking times because of how the majority of the game is small linear corridors, so it's hard to dodge and maneuver around them. And when it comes to the guns you have in the game, there's very little ammunition in the game that you have. So you find yourself like trying to save your ammunition as much as possible, but the game is very unforgiving with how much that they have throughout the levels, to the point where you find yourself trying to get around the enemies, but you can't because of how tight the corridors are, so you find yourself dying multiple times. The game is punishing you no matter what you do. You may want to try to save ammunition, but the game punishes you for even trying to do that, and the game will punish you still if you waste all the ammunition. No matter what you do, you feel like you're just being punished from the game. And then on top of that, because how stiff your character is when he's aiming, it's very easy to miss the target because they're faster than you are, so it's very easy to miss the target completely because of how unforgiving the hitboxes in this game is. Which leads me to another problem. That is the checkpoint system is extremely unforgiving. I'm starting to notice a pattern here with this unforgiving term, but seriously, the checkpoints are all over the place. Sometimes you have a checkpoint that will just send you back a minute or two, but then there are some checkpoints that sent me back 15 minutes ago. It would have been so much better if you had a manual save option, but no, the game relies on the autosave system, and because of how inconsistent the autosave is, you may find yourself repeating long-ass sections again, and most of them has to deal with avoiding or killing enemies. And then that leads me to another problem, that is the game's length. I'm not saying all games need to be a bazillion hours long, but the game is only about 3 hours long depending on how good you are at it. An average gamer, I'd say, would probably be able to beat the game in about 3 to 4 hours, which is I beat it in 4 hours, and that was me dying multiple times and being stuck at the stupid egg chamber puzzle. And this game is $40. Like, in all honesty, if I didn't play this off of Game Pass, I probably would have felt really ripped off after playing the game. And after all of that, all the way up to the conclusion of this journey of your character you're playing as, it's very unsatisfying. Like, I get what they're saying, and it is technically fitting for the world around you, but at the same time, after all the crap you've gone through, it makes you feel like, what was the point of the whole game then? Like, it makes you feel like the whole journey was pointless. But yeah, that was Scorn. As you can tell, I didn't care for it personally. There are things I do dig about it. Like I said, the art style is great, the visuals are breathtaking. I like the universe itself, it's interesting. And I like doing the puzzles. But the level layouts needed more variety to them. The enemy encounters felt very forced in for the sake of padding out the running time. Because if you took the enemies out, you'd probably be able to beat the game an hour quicker. And that's probably why the enemies were thrown in there, just to make the drag to pad the game out more. But yeah, when you add in that, a very unforgiving checkpoint system, and at least for me, an unsatisfying conclusion, you find it very hard to recommend this game, even for those who have Game Pass. That's honestly the only way I can recommend the game to try it out, at least, is if you have Game Pass. If it wasn't for Game Pass, I would say skip it. It's not worth the $40. So yeah, this game is kind of all over the place, and I can see why some people really dig it, I can see why some people really hate it. I'm not going to say I hate it, but I overall don't care for the game personally. I'm going to be very forgiving and give it a 5 out of 10. Like I said, if you have Game Pass for PC or Xbox, that's the only way I can recommend maybe even considering to try it out. But if you don't have Game Pass, absolutely skip this game. There's no reason to buy this game at full $40 price tag. No reason for it whatsoever.